Who's next?
Hey guys, Lewis here. I had a lot of interest on Reddit on my tank melee Gemling Legionnaire build. So without further ado, I'm going to get into it. So the premise of this build, a lot of people probably already guessed, is Pillar of the Caged God. Now how Pillar of the Caged God works, same as PoE 1, you scale weapon damage with strength. What's interesting about PoE 2 versus 1 is that in PoE 1 it only worked on physical damage. Your only source of physical damage was scaled. In PoE 2 they've changed how damage works and conversion and such like. So now all sources of damage are getting scaled by the increased weapon damage per 5 strength. So that one that I've got there has a cold damage corruption. So that 12 to 24 cold damage also gets increased by the weapon damage per 5 strength. Likewise, if you have cold damage on your ring, if you have lightning damage on your ring or gloves or whatever, that goes through that multiplier. So essentially we just scaled strength. And at ultra endgame, I've only just got these in a lot of my clips. I think every single clip I did not have these. I've literally just bought them. And these are an ultra endgame chase item. Likewise, Astramentis will be a chase item. Again, I haven't got that yet, can't afford it. So now I can scale int as well, and again, this makes Gemling Legionnaire great for this, to get even more damage, so you get this great synergy. And the great thing about scaling strength is that we get a massive life pool, because strength is a source of life in this. It's one of the few sources of life in PoE 2, so we get a massive life pool, especially with Gemling Legionnaire, because they get 4 HP plus strength instead of 2. So it just all comes together. We can scale our offense and defense at the same time, which is great. So yeah, what are the skills am I using? So my main skill is Ice Strike, with primal armament, more weapon damage, martial tempo, more attack speed, inspiration, less cost, fairly intuitive here. Ice Bite, so this is great as well, but it's synergized with Herald of Ice, so when we freeze we get extra damage. And then Conch Effect, which is a more multiplier, 40%, which is really high, because it has that downside, so it has a bigger upside, but for us the downside doesn't matter because Herald of Ice does our clear. And luckily Ice Strike has the AoE tag, so we can make use of this 40% more multiplier. Then I have Tempest Bell for single target. I don't use this, I rarely use this during the campaign because everything's just melted. You use it on bosses, the big bosses, we can put it down. Overpower, more stun builder, rage, and ruthless. When I 5-link that, I'll put on maybe Font of Rage, I'm unsure. Killing Palm, this was useful early on for a little teleport. Ice Strike actually has a teleport built in, so I don't use it that much now. But with Profusion, there's nothing else really going to put on Killing Palm. And then Behead. Behead, so when you call them, you basically get a Headhunter-like effect, but I don't really use that because everything just dies too fast. We ignore this. This was something I was testing with another thing, but I just haven't removed. But I think we have pre-med, so that when we do use it, we get more damage. Corrupting Cry, because we have a massive strength pool, so that's quite useful. And then Raging Cry, which is, again, we get more rage. This is our AoE, basically. We've got Herald of Ice, Cold Mastery, adding levels increases the radius, which works well with quality. Again, something you get from Gemling Legionnaire, which also increases the radius. Cold Infusion, damages extra cold. Magnified Effect, more AoE again. Elemental Focus. We don't care about freezing with Herald of Ice, we're just going to freeze some Ice Bite. And then Cold Pen, just for more damage. And then Overwhelming Presence is my other aura with Clarity and Vitality. The Vitality working really well because we have a massive life pool. Finally, I also have Frost Bomb. And this is just a single target way of applying cold exposure with strip away for more exposure, second wind so I can cast it twice, and arcane tempo so I can cast it faster. This you basically only use when you get one of the big bosses during that initial invulnerability phase. You can pop Frost Bomb, get that exposure, hit them a few times, put the bell down, then they just melt. They die in about 5-10 seconds. It's great. So yeah, onto gear. Obviously, Pillar of the Caged God. The best corrupt you can get on this is a flat elemental damage. And then after that, I think it'll be 3 runes. Early game, you want flat damage. Late game, when you have enough flat damage, I think the penetration will outweigh the flat damage. There's no path of building in PoE 2, which makes things painful. But yeah, early game, you just go for flat. These are really cheap. This one cost me 3 exalted. That's it. You know, they might go up in price soon when people realise how busted Pillar of the Cage God strength stacking is on a Gemling. But yeah, you can get like Abyss Corrupt for 3x. And because that Corrupt is worth 2 runes by itself, more than 2 runes by itself. The helmet, I'm using Blackstone Crest, wrapped Great Helm. I had a worse one of these and I purchased a better one with double Corrupt. You want as good as you can, 15, 15, 15 ideally, especially when you go HoWA, but I can afford that and I needed the res. My amulet, I've had this for ages. This was quite cheap, but it worked really well for me. The increased spell damage does nothing, but obviously the life implicit is just great. Always want life, increased armor. I'm not running armor that much. I'm not that heavily invested. I'm 50%. Mana, don't really care about. It's all that for me, the strength and the all elemental res. I will be replacing this with Astramentis, and I can put 10% all res in here when I do that, and that's my plan. Rings, you basically want all attributes, flat damage, and resists. Obviously, your resists, it depends on what you have. But yeah, attributes, resists, and flat damage. That's what you want on rings. Boots, obviously you want move speed. You want as high move speed as you can. Strength, and resists. You don't need the life because strength is giving you, like that 31 strength is probably giving me 4 per strength. We've also got all the percent additive percent increases on our strength. That's probably giving me about a 140 life alone. So you don't really need life. That also makes gearing nice because a lot of the there's a big premium on life, so if an item has res and life, it gets a big premium. For belt, same thing, strength, resistances, life if you can, armor if you can, those kind of things. Gloves, as I said, I recently just changed to these gloves. I did have one with flat damage, a resist, and strength, I think. So yeah, that's basically the gearing. For charm, I'm using thawing, because being frozen is annoying. I don't really ever get stunned, because I'll go with a passive tree and we have such a big life pool. You could also use Amethyst here if your chaos is low. If you had another one, I'd probably run Amethyst and Poison. I'd probably use Thawing, Amethyst, and Poison. And then Flasks, just get a Flask, and Mana, get a Mana Flask. There's not much to it, I barely use them. Right, onto the passive tree. Obviously, we're playing Gemling Legionnaire. I think this is the best for this build. Titan being a close second. Well, I wouldn't even say it's close now, especially as Hulking Form doesn't work on travel attribute nodes. So for Gemling Legionnaire, we get increased attributes here, move up to there. That's quite useful for things like Frost Bomb because we have so much strength, we can always satisfy it. Now that I've pivoted to Herald of Wisdom of Action, I will get more int, but yeah, early on that's just brilliant. And more attributes, great. And then this is the big one. We're getting 10 mana per. No, we're getting 4 mana per intelligence, 4 HP per strength, and 10 actually per dex now instead of half of those. So this is how you get the massive HP pool. It's just great. We're scaling strength. Now the strength scaling gives us even more HP, it's just brilliant. Then we come this side, we go for quality. Quality on Ice Strike is attack speed, on Herald of Ice it's AoE, so that's brilliant. Quality again. And then less cost, because Ice Strike for me is only costing 19 mana now. And even at 19 mana, I have watched it drain quickly, because you see I'm attacking close to 6 times a second. So that, 19 mana is actually become probably about 120 mana a second I'm draining, so you can see my mana pool will go down. I'm not regenning that much because I haven't invested in mana, but having it at 19 is really, really useful. As for how I pathed the tree, I went basically stack strength. I went this way, strength, strength, grab this node, round here, more strength, up to here. I then went down here and beelined over towards beef, and then up to blade catcher. I then went down here and over towards brute strength. And again, the downside of brute strength is great. Well, I say it isn't great, it's just we can offset that by using inspiration and advanced thaumaturgy, which is a great thing about being a Gemling Legionnaire. So once I've got that, I think I finished these. I went for the jewels. I then came here because we can get stun threshold and strength, which is nice. We lean into stun threshold, thinking Act 3 normal. I took the out of the vial, the flasks that you can choose in Act 3, I took the stun threshold because we're already leaning into it. So I didn't go for ailment threshold because I thought, we don't have big ailment threshold anyway. We might as well pump up the stun threshold because we're already leaning into it. We might as well just make it as high as we can. Pretty sure we're at the point now where the only hit that will stun us would kill us anyway, so we don't have to worry about being stunned. So I went there, finished off the gem socket because gems are really useful, or jewels even in PoE. Then I came this way down and I beelined towards Polymathy and Jack of all trades. Jack of all trades isn't as big damage as you think. That 2% increased damage, we have so much increased damage on the tree from our strength and Pillar of the Cage God. But because of this jewel, which I'll go over in a bit, again, this I've only recently acquired. This is actually quite useful to me, but it's still useful while leveling. And likewise, I wouldn't take these if you didn't have the jewels. So I've got a nice against the Darkness Time Lost Diamond. Just give me Chaos Res on small notables, so 3 Chaos, 3 Chaos, 3 Chaos, and it's giving me 4% of damage as extra lightning. In all my clips, I didn't have this jewel, so the damage you were seeing in my clips, it's gone up massively, and I didn't have this jewel, but I needed it for the Chaos Res. And this is how you can get your Chaos Res. And if I go there, I'm going to get 4% of damage as extra lightning. So yeah, I finished here. I then went up and got more jewels. I then went this way over towards Prism Guard because I needed Ellie Res. And then I finished off going this way. I think I might have gone this way and then to Prism Guard. Because Prism Guard was needed when I went into maps and then yellow and red maps. I was like, oh, my Ellie Res is low because we had a lot of like... pressure on suffixes. It is suffixes for elemental resistance, isn't it? Pretty sure. Yeah, there's a lot of suffix pressure that I had because I'm running uniques and generally stacking strength and whatnot, you know, and just generally in PoE 2 you're starved on resistances. So in maps I wanted to get Prism Guard. I don't like this pathing, and I will change it later on when I get Astramentis, but for now I'm liking that's probably the best way we can path. Jewels are great. Jewels are something that you can corrupt for resistances. So I've been looking on trade, I've been corrupting them myself, I've been buying the jewels I want and then corrupting them to get the resist that I need. And then, yeah, I came over here. Finally, again, more jewels and over to the crit nodes, which give strength and intelligence. Especially now that I've got Hand of Wisdom of Action, the intelligence is a huge multiplier. It's absolutely massive. I might address the tree again and just do another one over to check if there's anywhere else. I do also like this, acceleration, because move speed is great and that attack speed is great, gives a lot of damage. But these for me were better because of the Chaos Res on the jewel. So yeah, essentially that is the build. There's not much to it, you basically pick up strength. Int, for me, probably has a better multi than strength now with Hand of Wisdom of Action, but strength is just so comfy, you know, I want that life, the damage is crazy anyway, just stack strength, it's nice. If you do want to one-shot Ubers, there's probably a stronger, lower HP variant where you want to balance those damage buckets between the percent increase from strength and the flat damage from Int, but for me, I just wanted to have a massive HP pool. I generally think if I spent more, mine was fairly cheap, I could get, like, you know, a 400x one of these, you can get percent increase life. As well as Chaos Res, so I'd drop a bit of damage and I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 there. Probably get you know, 12% increased life, which on my life pool, bearing in mind I have 11% already, so that 12% is probably more like 11. You know, that would take me to 6,600. Then you throw Astramentis on top of that, which would be another 70 strength or something for me, which is going to go, you know, times 4. You know, that's going to be another 280, which you go through that with the 11%, the 300, you know, I'll be looking at 7k life with Astramentis and a 1% against the darkness with 1% life and 3% chaos. So yeah, you can get very, very tanky. I mean, we already are. I can face tank pretty much everything. Chaos was giving me an issue, but thanks to this gem, it shouldn't now, hereafter. But I've only recently acquired this, like literally tonight, before I made this video. I just wanted to get this video out because everybody's been literally I've been getting about 20 messages. Can you show me your passive tree? Can you show me your passive tree? What skills are you using? So I've just thought, you know what, screw it, I'm making the video, I'll get it out. But yeah, essentially that's it. I've got a bigger guide, I'll put it on my Mobalytics, which I'll link in the description to this video, and yeah, leveling is also super smooth, nothing changes. The only thing that changes, you can't use Ice Strike until level 14, but then you just use Falling Thunder, and if you've got Pillar of the Cage Guard, and I've also said some nice leveling uniques. I think all mine I've given away. I did have some sort of leveling uniques. There's Helm of Rinden, there's Blackfriar, I think it is, or Black Bird. I can't remember what the name is. that gives armor applies to elemental damage and also has strength and intelligence, level 0 unique. Megan Yord's girdle, level 0 unique, which gives plus 50 strength. The helmet gives 30. I mean, you have about 120, 130 strength at level 1, and the weapon. And if you get the weapon with the corrupt and put 2 runes in, you literally just one-shot everything in the campaign, and that costs you about 5 exalted, depending on the weapon. The weapon would be the most expensive thing there. And then you can put, you know, if you've already got a character and you're re-rolling to this, you can put runes in. You can be fully resist. You have a load of armor, a load of HP. You know, just one-shot the campaign. It's a joke. I've leveled this when I re-rolled because I originally had this idea and went Titan before I saw how OP Gemling was. I re-rolled and I got 1 to 80 in about 16 hours played. It was so fast. You just kill everything and nothing can hurt you. You know, it's great. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's been an absolute pleasure to play. You know, you zip around with Ice Strike. It has a mini built-in flicker. It's super tanky. The only thing that was giving me trouble was chaos on death effects and the really, really obvious telegraph stuff. But most things you just hold down, you know, hold down Ice Strike and delete the maps. So yeah, that is the build. I've tried to talk through it fast, but I'll try and elucidate things further in the Mobalytics guide. I'll also try and keep that very much up to date and in a changelog. And I will also stream on twitch.tv/Liggles if anybody wants to watch and get some ideas. Happy to bounce ideas all the time. People DM me on Discord or on Reddit or whatever. And then yeah, that is the build. I think it will likely get nerfed because it seems too strong. It's not a bug from because I was worried that it was a bug that the LE damage was going onto the weapon unlike PoE 1, but apparently it's not a bug. It's just egregiously strong. I think it might get hot fixed because this looks like it's the hardest scaling melee build at the moment and possibly one of the tankiest as well to boot. So you've got damage, you've got tankiness, you've just got everything with this. It's great. But yeah, perhaps a little too strong. Perhaps, you know, a nerf is in line. Maybe they'll change it to 10 instead of 5. I can see them doing that. But yeah, get in now. It's super fun. You'll be 1 to 80 in a few hours. It's just you just blitz through everything. And there's a lot of scaling. I've only just got this. Yeah, I haven't even put my runes in yet. I've only just got the jewel as well. I haven't got Astramentis. I don't know how many X have I got. I'm at 57 at the moment. And my friend, he's taken a break. He played 2 characters to 90, and he's like, you know what? I've played some, and he gave me about 50x just. And you know, he said, go and have fun. But yeah, that is that's the build. Yeah, there's not much more to it. If you've got any questions, hit me up, and yeah, enjoy. I'll leave some clips and I'll put things in the description.